Good morning, Team Mirvac. Happy Wednesday, or it might be a little bit later when you guys are watching this. Either way, I hope you're having a smashing day or a great week so far. My name is Clodagh. I am Senior Physiotherapist here at Pinnacle Health Group in Melbourne. And I'm so thrilled to be able to come on and chat to you all about posture, ergonomic setup, and injury prevention. For me, it's a big area of passion just because most of my clients, in fact, probably all of my clients, come in with requesting, can I have some exercises for better posture? What can I do for my back and neck pain when I'm sitting at the desk? It's so common. So note that you're not alone. And even those who don't have pain, it's really important to still move our bodies and to prevent any niggles that we might have, or just a general awareness of the importance of posture and getting up and moving around. And so today's session will be very much practical based. I'll keep it nice and simple, and hopefully you can take a few tips away from today's session. That's my main aim, is to make sure that you guys get something from it and be able to take some tips and tricks through to your everyday life so that you can be posture experts in no time. Before we kick off, I'm just going to share my screen with you. I have a little presentation done for you guys so that when you're looking back, you can recap on the tips and tricks that we discussed today. Lovely. So today we're going to talk about all things posture. And the reason I've called it that is I think especially about 5 or 10 years ago, we all got obsessed with the perfect posture, and myself included. My old physio hat used to be, making sure that everybody sat in the exact same way all day. And if they did that, then they would have no pain, or that helps to prevent injury. And over time, obviously the physio profession is evolving always, as I'm sure many professions are, but over time we discovered that even if you sit in this exact perfect posture that we all believe is golden, you will still get neck or back pain if you don't move. And that's why I wanted to call today all things posture, because it's not just about the perfect ergonomic setup and the perfect seated position. It's also about getting our bodies moving and making sure that we get the blood flowing and we break up those static seated positions and static standing positions. And when I say moving, it doesn't mean that you have to go and run a half marathon at lunchtime. It just means that when we're sitting for maybe half an hour, 40 minutes to an hour, our bodies get cold, our muscles get stiff, our joints get stiff. And so all it is about turning your neck over your shoulder, bringing your chin to your chest, standing up and touching your toes. Really simple, easy things that we can do that will really help us by the end of today. But I'll show you those at the end anyway. So I thought we might start with just a reflection of where we're at now. I guess none of you, I suspect none of you would have predicted to be still working from home. If you are, I know some of you might be back into the office, but either way, it's a very, very different world we are in now than what we expected on September 30th, 2020. And our new normal, our COVID normal, I've called it, but what is our new normal really? It's not 5 days in the office with our perfect ergonomic setup and our walking meetings with our colleagues. It could be working from home for you, like this lady here on the side of the sofa with her laptop while her partner is homeschooling her kids, or it might be that you have a really good workstation at home like this guy here on the right, or it might be that you're working at your kitchen table and you're there by yourself and it's a bit of a lonelier existence than what you're used to, and you're not used to that incidental movement. So before we begin and talk about the perfect way we can sit and stand and move, just remember that this is unprecedented time. Hate using that word, it's a little bit overused, but it is. And try not to be too hard on yourself. If you're having back or neck pain, or your workstation is not the ideal that I explained to you here today, just try not to be too hard on yourself, because it is a crazy time. And I'm here to show you that you don't have to have the best mod cons or the most expensive desk at home. There's lots of things you can do with bits and pieces that you have around to help you with your workstation and your work setup. And obviously just keeping your body moving is number one. So we'll chat about that after as well. So we'll kind of divide today into 3 sections. The first part, we're going to talk about our ideal workstation setup. The second part, we're going to talk about our bodies and how that plays a key role and how we can do little things with our bodies to help us. And in the last part, we'll just go through some simple movement stretches that are really, really beneficial and that will really help us throughout the day. So the first part is about our ergonomic setup. Now, I like to think of this as a 5-point checklist. And please refer back to this as you need. I think you guys are going to have this seminar on file, which is awesome. Or else you can jot them down today as you're listening. And it's just a nice way to check in with yourself every hour and say, okay, what are my 5 points? Is this exactly where I'm sitting, or am I slouched down here, head back, arm out? And it's very easy to do that. Especially in the setting, you know, some of you might be working from your bedrooms, very close and easy to look at the bed and be like, oh, I'll have a little nap. Or some of you might be at your kitchen bench. I'm here in my spare room, which is my dumping ground, my boyfriend's guitar and the hanging washing and everything else is around. So as I said before, it doesn't have to be the best workstation setup, but no matter where you are, try think about these 5 points and we'll work through a few hacks that you can do at home to help. So first one is you want your feet flat on the ground. Now, if you have a higher chair and your feet are dangling, grab a box or a couple of books. In the olden times, I used to say phone book, but they don't exist anymore. So grab yourself some books or a box that maybe something has got delivered in and pop your feet up so that your feet can rest flat on that surface. Your hips then want to be higher than your knees. So that's kind of a guide of where your box should be or how high your box should be. You want your knees up a little bit higher than your hips, and you want your backrest slightly reclined and the small of your back at the base of the chair. Now, I'm not too worried about the backrest being slightly reclined. That's the ideal scenario. So if you have an office chair, perfect. Most of them will have a little bit of give in them for that. But if you're on a kitchen chair, they don't. But it's not detrimental. But what is really important is pushing your back, the small of your back, into the back of the chair. Now, the backrest is there for a reason. And so over the years, so many times when I go into offices to do ergonomic trainings and setups, I see people just hanging away from the back of the chair like this. And then they're with their mouse and it's just, they're not using it. They're not in contact at all with the back of the chair. And the reason it's there is to support our backs, believe it or not, the backrest. So pop your bum right back into the back of the chair and use the back of your chair. Sit right back into it. Automatically, you are sitting up straight and you have a really good posture and it gives you a great position to activate your core without you even knowing. Now, when you do that, a lot of people are miles away from the screen. And that's because, as I said, we tend to either slouch forward like this or slide down in a chair. So when you do that, you'll probably need to pull your chair in a little bit and making sure that when you're sitting at the back of the chair, your upper back is supported as well. So if you're on a stool or a Swiss ball, if that's something that you are sitting on, it's even more important that you take yourself some breaks and keep moving. Lots of people decide that, you know, I want to work my core a little bit better. I'll sit on a stool to make sure I'm sitting up straight. But our bodies really weren't designed, and I suspect a lot of you won't have the strength to sit on a Swiss ball or a stool for 9 hours. I certainly wouldn't. And so just making sure that you're getting up and moving around to help the blood flow and sitting back down as every, you know, half an hour, 40 minutes. So we've got our bums, our feet on the floor, our hips are a little bit higher than our knees, our bums are right back into the chair, our back is supported by the backrest, and we might need to pull ourselves in. The reason we need to pull ourselves in is because we want our main screen at arm and eye level. So when I straighten out my arm, I want my fingertips to touch off the edge of my screen, and I want the tip of my screen to be at eye level or just below. Now, there's some snazzy bits I'll show you in a second that I have done to achieve this. But if you are using a desktop and keyboard separate, that is perfect. Usually the desktop will be at around eye level. If you're using a laptop, it's a good idea to get yourself a wireless keyboard if you can. And that way you can have your computer or your screen or your laptop at arm level, at eye level, but it doesn't mean you have to reach your hands forward to type. Instead, you have your keyboard underneath your hands, elbows under shoulders, and therefore you don't have to stretch out and use the keys over here, which will lead to shoulder pain. Instead, you just have your keyboard, elbows under shoulders at 90 degrees, and you can work away on your keyboard like so. I'll tilt this down a little bit for you to see. Mine is there. And then your mouse, you want your mouse just under your, just to your right side or your left side, but again, nice and close to your keyboard. So if your mouse is forward and you're sitting on your hand like this and you're using your mouse out here and you're away from your back chair, we're all of a sudden going to get tension and tightness in these muscles of our shoulders. So quick recap on the ergonomic setup: feet flat on the ground, hips a little bit higher than knees, backrest slightly reclined. Remember, we're not too pushed on that. Just make sure that you're sitting back into the chair. You pull your desk in, then you've got your elbows under your shoulders, elbows under shoulder level, keyboard there, and you got your mouse nice and close to you so that you can use that. So this is, if there was ever want of a phrase, perfect posture, but remember, we don't call it the perfect posture, but this is the ideal. So this is what we will sit in for most of the time when we're at the desk, but remember, it's still really important to move our bodies. Now, how do we get that when we're working from home? You're probably saying to me, well, I don't have a keyboard, or I can't lift up my laptop, so what do I do? So here's a few hacks that I have, and this is my colleague, Chris, who is very similar to me. I asked him for a photo because both of us set up our workstation together with books, and I'm actually using a drill box, my boyfriend's drill box at home. So the first thing you can do, so for your feet flat on the ground, as I mentioned to you before, you can grab some books or grab yourself a cardboard box that may have come with a delivery. Just pop that under your feet. For most people, you probably won't need that. It's just that maybe if you have shorter legs or your chair is quite high or your desk is quite high, you will. In terms of the backrest, I show you Chris here. His chair is only coming up to halfway up his back, but he's still sitting right back into the back of the chair. And this just shows you, you don't have to have an office chair. You can sit on your kitchen chair, still bring your bum and back right in, and keep your shoulder blades down and back. You can notice his elbows under his shoulders there, and his keyboard is right in. So that, imagine now if he had his keyboard out or if he was using his laptop keyboard, his hands would be all the way out in front, adding to the tension in these muscles. So he has his keyboard right in there, his laptop's propped up on his books. As I said, I'm using my boyfriend's drill box here. I have a few golf books and a Lonely Planet. And then his mouse is very close to his keyboard so that he can use his right hand in and out like so, and he doesn't have to reach forward. And he's got the dog in for good measure and cuddles throughout the day. Why not? So this is a simple, easy way that you can do it from home. And I really wanted to show you this because I really wanted to make the point that you don't need to go and buy fancy, you know, those stands for your laptop, or really fancy office chair, or, you know, ergonomic mouse. You can really stick to what you have and just be a little bit creative around, okay, well, how can I make this work for me? All the time thinking of your 5 key points. Feet on the floor or on the box, hips a little bit higher than knees, bum right back into the back of the chair, and use the backrest for support. That will automatically put you in elbows under shoulder position. Keyboard just right in front, you don't want to be stretching forward, and mouse just to the side of your keyboard. So jot them down if you like. Sometimes I tell my clients to pop them on a little yellow sticky in the corner of their screen. And that way it's easy for them to remember, and they might look at it every hour or so, and it's a reminder to have a little check-in. Also, if you're getting up to move every hour, then of course, as soon as you sit down and you remember your 5 key points, you're going to be in that position already. So when we get to our body, then we're talking about 5 key points again. So we've got our perfect chair set up, we've got our desk set up lovely wherever we might be, at the kitchen bench or the table in this new COVID norm. And then we have to think, it's hard for an Irish person to say think, I'll have you know. So we have to think about 5 things then when we're thinking about our body as well. We've got our head position, our shoulders, our pelvis, our tummy, and the last one is getting moving. And as I said at the end, I will show you some very practical, easy stretches to get moving. But let's talk about the first 4 first. And the reason I've put these in there is because unfortunately, everybody, including myself, we often want a solution, a quick fix to, I want the perfect chair and the perfect desk and everything set up so well that I don't need to move my body or think about engaging any muscles, or I just want to sit here now for the rest of the day and be sorted. And I get it, I'm the exact same. But it does take a little bit of work of movement and activation of our muscles. It's the most important thing. Over the years, I've learned that myself, is that you can have the best setup in the world, but if you're not really moving your body and thinking about, okay, where is the position of my body, then having your perfect ergonomic setup is almost like a waste of time. So these are even more important, I would say. And the first one is head position. Now, we see this all the time, and you'll probably notice yourself doing it now. As soon as we get a bit tired, we start to poke out the chin. It's so common. I do it myself as well. Or, you know, the way you can't see something on the screen, you're like, what is that? Or a common one is to have the head in the hand or head under here. And I call it the chin poke. And what it does is the muscles that, you know, the way when we feel tightness, and we call them knots or trigger points in our shoulder muscles, when we feel those, that's tension in the muscle attaching from the lower base, the base of our neck, out here to our shoulder. And the reason you're feeling tension there is because when you hinge your head forward, so when you poke out your chin, and if you're not a chin poker, hats off to you, well done, because there are very few people in our world that are not. But when you poke your chin out, you shorten that muscle, and as a result, it gets really tight and sore. And then when you go to move, it's really hard for you to move because it's really tight and stiff through here, because we've been poking out our chin for 8 hours a day for 5 days a week for, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it is. So when we do that, we're shortening the muscle, we're adding to the tension, and then as soon as we go to move, it's like, oh. And then of course, the less we move, the more stiff we become. And then we get more and more of those trigger points, and then they can lead to headaches, pain in the back of the head, pain in the teeth even sometimes. So really, really important to just have an awareness of, okay, where's my head at? Am I poking my chin? No, instead I'm going to have my shoulders down and back against my chair. And then I'm just going to tuck my chin in. And from there, all of a sudden you've went from here, poking the chin out, to just slightly tucking the chin in as if you're going to make a double chin. Now I'll show you an exercise to do here very shortly. But number one rule, get that head up from here into here, tucking the chin in, sitting up nice and tall. The second one then, we'll work our way down, is shoulder blades down and back. And I've said that term off the cuff there a few times, and it's probably my most common phrase that I use. And no matter what exercise you're doing or what seated or standing position you're in, we always want to think about shoulder blades down and back into opposite pockets. So imagine your right shoulder blade is being pulled. Now do it with me now. Imagine your right shoulder blade is pulled into your bottom left pocket, and your left shoulder blade is being pulled into your bottom right pocket. And you know what? When we do this first, it feels strange. I hear you. And people say to me, I'm not walking around like this all day, because they feel that they're walking around with chest out and really tall, but it's not. It's actually just taking us out of our learned pattern of a slouch. So, the world is all about flexion now. It's about typing and chopping veg and looking at our phones. And the more we round forward through our shoulders, the less we are sitting up nice and tall with shoulder blades down and back the way we're supposed to be. And so that's why it feels so abnormal when you do that. So please just know that you look normal when you go shoulder blades down and back. This is the not normal position. So pop your shoulder blades down and back into opposite pockets, and it just gets you out of that rounded shoulder, tight chest position, opens up through the chest. Next one to think about is our pelvis. So for this one, you want to imagine that you have a bucket of water in the front and a bucket of water in the back, and you're going to rock forward and back. So imagine that you're tipping out some of the water in front and then tipping out some of the water behind. So just rocking through the pelvis. This is a really good exercise to do as well, by the way. But it helps us to find that neutral pelvis. And what I usually tell people to do is stop about halfway. And usually halfway is when your bum is back into the back of the chair. It's all making sense. And when you get there, it links into our tummy tightening. So stopping about halfway, and then all I want you to imagine is that you're drawing your belly button in towards your spine. Now you're not sucking it in so much that you're like, Clodagh said I must engage my core while I'm sitting at my desk. No, please don't do that. Instead, it's just a light engagement, belly button drawn to the back of the spine, shoulder blades are down and back, you have your pelvis in neutral, you have your head up, and all of a sudden you're in the perfect posture. Remember, it's not perfect posture, ideal posture. So this is, again, the ideal. And especially with the tummy one, the core engagement, I am aware that, you know, we'll engage the tummy muscles and then we'll get distracted. And all of a sudden you might feel, oh, I'm not engaged anymore and I'm down here. But that's okay. I don't expect any of you to all of a sudden sit like this for 9 hours tomorrow or today even. It's a work in progress. And to be honest, I'm still guilty of it. And I know these things. I know how important they are because 99% of my clients have these issues and I feel it myself. But I still need a reminder. It's like anything. So do something for yourself, like stick a little yellow sticky on the screen to say 5-point check-in. I've put hourly check-in up here. If you can say to yourself, right, every time it hits the O clock, I'm going to check where's my head, where's my shoulders, where's my pelvis, where's my tummy. And even if you're holding it for 30 seconds every hour, it's so much better than not doing it. And then your body gets used to it even more. And so it's a work in progress. And another great way to remember to reset is to get moving every hour, which is what we're going to move on to next. And it's probably the most important thing. It's definitely the most important, I would say. I know I've said a lot of things are the most important, but motion is lotion. Moving our body is so key. And it's come forth in the research in the last 5 to 10 years how important movement actually is when we're sitting at our desk. You might have heard the phrase sitting is the new smoking. And it's really important not just to break up the static position, because what we found is if you're sitting for long periods of time, even in the perfect posture, the ideal posture, everything will still get stiff and sore. Moving doesn't mean you have to jump around like these crazies or run a half marathon. It just means doing some simple stretches every hour. So by the end of the day, then all of a sudden you have done, 5, 10, 20 minutes of stretching and you've broke up that seated position. So it is key. You can get up and jump around like these if you like. Sometimes I do. I drive everyone mad. So the 3 simple exercises that I have picked for you are, again, really, really good to get the neck and the chest moving and a little stretch out through the back of the neck. And they're usually the 3 most problematic areas in all of us who sit at the desk or maybe stand or work in corporate jobs where maybe we're not so lucky to have as much incidental movement, or we're not out on the farm lifting and dragging, we're not doing heavy manual work, so therefore our muscles are getting stiff and tight as we sit. So the first one is our chin tuck. And I mentioned to you earlier that I would show you this exercise because lots of us are like the guy in the first picture poking our chin out. And really what we want to do here is imagine you're giving yourself a double chin. Flattering, I know, but take your finger onto your chin and you're going to push the chin in to give yourself a double chin. Now we're not going to bring our chin down to our chest. Imagine that you're lengthening the back of the neck. So practice it with me here. Tucking that chin in, lengthen the back of the neck, give yourself a double chin. It's quite a small and discreet movement, and some people don't like this one because they're like, what am I doing here? I don't really feel much. But it's doing 2 things. First thing, it's activating some small stabilizing muscles in your neck to help you keep your head up. And remember, chin poke is the #1 cause of tightness through here. So anything that helps us keep our head up is vital. So it's the first thing it's doing. And the second thing is it's breaking up that position of you poking your chin out here. It's getting you back up into your tall seated position. So tucking the chin in, lengthening the back of the neck, and you're going to hold this one for 8 seconds and do it 8 times. If you don't have time for that, just go for 8 seconds once, or you can just do it 8 times. So I'm flexible with this one. And the second one is our armpit stretch. This is my favorite stretch. You are going to bring your nose to your left armpit, your left hand up around to the back of your head, and you're going to pull down. Now look right into your armpit, use your left hand to pull right down, and you're going to feel a stretch there in the back of your right shoulder and the back of your neck. Wherever you're most tight, really, you will feel a nice stretch. It's so good. I love it. And you can hold this one for 30 seconds each side. Just try the other side with me now. Nose to right armpit, right hand up and behind head and pull down. Holding there. Now with this one, if it's too much for you guys, remember I was mentioning that muscles around this area can refer pain up into the head or even into the temples, the head, the front of the head, the back of the head. If you are feeling that it's shooting up and it's very uncomfortable for you, just ease off the stretch a little bit and take your time with it. And you don't have to hold for the full 30 seconds. But again, a really good one to get things moving. And last one, we're going to go for our pec stretch. Couldn't find a hug picture, I think, because I invented this exercise myself, but it's going to be the hug pec stretch. So we're going to hug ourselves first. We're not allowed to hug anyone else during COVID, so we might as well hug ourselves. And then we're going to reach our hands up to the ceiling, elbows wide, and then reach them all the way out to the side and far back as we can. This is a nice pec stretch, getting some movement and stretch through the front of the chest. So hug yourself again, COVID hug. Arms to the ceiling, elbows wide, and then reaching our arms back. How good is it to just even move? It just feels so nice to get some movement through the chest. This one, remember I said to you before, you know, we're very much slouched for a lot of the day. This is a really good reminder to open up through the chest. And then all of a sudden, you're in your nice seated position. You know, you're up straight and it's a reminder of, oh yeah, I've moved shoulder blades down and back, head, pelvis, tummy. So 3 simple stretches. And I could put bells and whistles on it and give you 10 million more, but it's the basics that really work. And it's the ones that are really effective and that you will remember and that you can master. And again, it's not just about the actual movement itself or the actual exercise itself. It's more about breaking up that static position and getting the body moving. Another one is to get up and touch your toes 10 times, even bringing your hands behind your head, rotating through your upper back. Anything where you're getting the body moving, even turning your neck over your shoulder. I'm not joking. That's really, really good and effective exercise. I often give that to clients. So we're nearly there now, guys. Our last thing I wanted to say to you is motion is lotion, and I hope I haven't harped on too much about the importance of movement today. Actually, I hope I have, because that's my passion. But here's me teaching a online Pilates class to one of the corporate companies. And I just wanted to put this on there to show you that, you know, no matter how much you do with the ergonomic setup, it's really, really important to get the body moving. I think I've said it now about 10 times, and this is number 11. But what I've done for myself in the last couple of weeks, I've been doing lots of seminar prep and lots of webinars. And for me, I really have noticed the difference the days I'm at home than compared to when I'm in clinic. So when I'm sitting down, I've really empathized with you guys. I said to Mark, I don't know how you do this, you know, all day, every day. It's really hard. And so what we did and what I forced him to do was every single hour we got up. And for us, it was 10 push-ups and 10 sit-ups. But for you, it could be that, or it could be touching your toes or doing a burpee or going for a little lap of the block, something where you're going to break up that static movement position. And I felt you feel so good after it. You're like a new person after touching your toes 10 times, coming back to the desk. Another one is to close your eyes and do some deep breathing while you're sitting at the desk, but it's definitely better to get up and move, relaxing for the mind and the body. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed our session today. I hope it inspired some healthy change. That's really all we're after, is to do just some nice tweaks and tips and tricks throughout the day. As I said, I wanted to make it really simple and basic for you and practical, so that you can go and do these things and understand and believe how important they are, because they are. And if you guys have any questions, shoot them through. Feedback for me is totally accepted as well. I'd love to hear what you'd like more or less of. And I hope you all have a lovely day. Don't forget to get moving, keep stretching, get your drill boxes and your book set up for your laptop, and enjoy. I'll hopefully see you all soon. Thanks a lot, Mirvac.